The average settlement for misdiagnosis cases is one of the most asked questions in medical malpractice law. Many people who have suffered harm due to a wrong or delayed diagnosis want to know how much compensation they may be entitled to. The truth is, there is no single fixed number. Settlement amounts vary greatly depending on many different factors, including the severity of harm, the state where the case is filed, the strength of evidence, and the long-term impact on the patient's life. In this video, we are going to break down the average settlement amounts, the ranges that typically apply, and the key factors that influence these numbers. By the end, you will have a clear picture of what average settlement really means in the context of misdiagnosis cases. To begin with, misdiagnosis is one of the most common forms of medical malpractice. It happens when a doctor fails to diagnose a condition correctly, delays the diagnosis, or mistakes it for another illness. This can lead to delayed treatment, the wrong treatment, or no treatment at all. The consequences can range from mild and temporary to severe and life-changing, and that is exactly why the settlement amounts vary so widely. Looking at the numbers in the United States, we can identify some broad patterns. For cases that involve minor or temporary harm, where the patient recovers fully and does not suffer long-term damage, settlements often range between $50,000 and $300,000. These cases might involve something like a short delay in treatment that caused discomfort, but did not leave lasting consequences. When the harm is more serious, such as a moderate injury or a worsened condition due to a delayed diagnosis, the settlements climb higher. In these cases, the amounts often range from $300,000 to over $1 million. For example, a delayed diagnosis of an infection that required hospitalization and left some ongoing complications might fall in this range. At the most severe level are cases where the misdiagnosis results in catastrophic injury, permanent disability, or even death. In these situations, settlements and jury awards often reach over $1 million and can stretch into several millions. Cancer misdiagnosis is a strong example of this category. When cancer is not detected until it is too late to treat effectively, the average payout among many reported cases is around $1.75 million. That figure can be even higher depending on the age of the patient, their income potential, and the level of suffering endured. If we look at general averages across the board, some studies place the typical payout for misdiagnosis lawsuits at around $300,000, while other reports suggest averages of around $500,000. The variation in these numbers reflects the wide range of cases that fall under misdiagnosis. Some are relatively minor, while others involve life-threatening conditions. Now, let's take a closer look at the major factors that drive these settlement amounts. The first and most important factor is the severity of harm. A temporary issue that resolves quickly is worth far less than a permanent disability. If a patient loses the ability to work, requires lifelong medical care, or passes away due to the error, the settlement will reflect those serious damages. The second factor is medical costs, both current and future. If the misdiagnosis led to extensive hospital stays, surgeries, rehabilitation, or medication, those expenses are calculated into the settlement. Future costs, such as ongoing therapy or in-home care, are also included. Another critical factor is lost income and earning capacity. If the patient was unable to return to work or had their career cut short, this loss can significantly increase the settlement. A young professional with decades of potential earnings ahead of them will usually receive a higher settlement than someone who is already retired, simply because the financial impact is greater. Jurisdiction also plays a major role. Different states have different rules on medical malpractice cases. Some states cap non-economic damages like pain and suffering, while others allow juries to award much higher amounts. This means that the same case could have very different outcomes depending on where it is filed, the quality of evidence, and the strength of expert testimony also make a difference. Medical malpractice cases often require expert witnesses to prove that the doctor failed to meet the standard of care. If the evidence is strong and clearly shows negligence, the chances of a higher settlement increase. On the other hand, if the case is weak or causation is hard to prove, the settlement may be much lower, or the case may be dismissed entirely. Another factor is the length of the delay in diagnosis. A short delay may not cause significant harm, but a long delay can allow a disease to progress to a much more dangerous stage. The more the condition worsens due to the delay, the higher the damages are likely to be. It is also important to consider who is being sued and the limits of their malpractice insurance. Hospitals and large healthcare systems often have bigger policies and may settle for higher amounts. Individual doctors with smaller policies may have lower coverage limits, which can affect the final settlement number. Finally, there is the question of whether the case settles or goes to trial. Many misdiagnosis cases settle out of court because trials are expensive, lengthy, and unpredictable. Insurance companies often prefer to settle rather than risk a jury awarding a massive verdict. However, if a case does go to trial and the jury is sympathetic to the patient, the award can be much higher than the typical settlement. So when people ask, what is the average settlement for a misdiagnosis case? The answer is that it depends. A ballpark figure might be $300,000 to $500,000 on average, but individual cases can be much lower or far higher depending on the circumstances. Minor cases may resolve for tens of thousands, while catastrophic cases can lead to multi-million-dollar awards. If you or someone you know has been affected by a misdiagnosis, it is crucial to consult with a qualified medical malpractice attorney. They can evaluate the specifics of your case, estimate potential damages, and guide you through the legal process. Remember, every case is unique, and averages are just general indicators, not guarantees. To sum it up, the average settlement for misdiagnosis cases is highly variable. Minor cases may see payouts under $300,000. Moderate harm can lead to settlements in the mid-six figures, and severe cases involving death or permanent disability can result in awards of over $1 million. The key factors are the severity of harm, medical expenses, lost income, state laws, strength of evidence, and the insurance coverage of the party being sued. Understanding these elements can help set realistic expectations for anyone considering a misdiagnosis lawsuit. While the averages give us useful benchmarks, the actual settlement in any individual case will depend on its unique facts. That concludes our discussion on the average settlement for misdiagnosis cases. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to share it with others who might be interested in learning more about medical malpractice and patient rights.